Well, hello, good people. Hi, it's Jason. I'm back in the backyard again, and it's a Saturday. Unless you're watching some other day that ends in a Y. Unless it's tomorrow, that ends in a W. In any case, it's time for another episode of Shed Wars. And today, we're waging war on poor seed germination rates. Alright, so for some background. Back in 2007, we had a really bad ice storm. As a matter of fact, if you look over there on that shed behind me, that's on the neighbor's property. Right up on top there, there's a huge log. That log is part of a black locust tree. That black locust tree got blown over on top of that shed back in 2007. It's still up there. We cut up most of it and carried it off, but that was a little bit on the big side. We left it there. Eventually, I suppose, the ceiling will just collapse and the log will fall through. But in any case, 2007, big ice storm hits, and this entire area was without power for most of a month. This block itself was without power for a little over a month. But the house is set up in such a way that we can make do without electricity for an extended period of time. And we had a lot of visitors coming by. I had chili and beans and ham on the stove pretty much all the time. Well, some of those people coming by, they'd get some hot food, but they'd also bring by some things from their pantry. One of those items was a bag of beans from, I think it was Adobe Mills, was the company that packaged the beans. Well, I know that they were purchased in 2007 or sometime before 2007. I don't know exactly when. But I do know that those beans were at least 13 years old as of this spring. So, when I was getting ready to do the Can I Plant That series of videos this spring, I found that bag of beans and said, hey, you know what? This qualifies as something that you could find lying at the bottom of your pantry. I want to see if I can get these to germinate. Well, I took some out and I planted them in a pot, 8 beans altogether, and tried to get them to germinate. They didn't germinate. They just rotted away in the ground. So I tried a little bit later, another week or two later, in another pot with 12 beans inside the greenhouse. Those didn't germinate either. They rotted away into the ground. But whenever I was planting the pole beans, the black beans here, a couple of weeks ago, I decided to give it one more try. So I took 5 beans for each of the planting spots, and I planted those in 8 spots around this pole, just like all the others. And 2 of them... Yeah, we're going to wait for the train. Okay, so we have 2 of these that have germinated and come up out of the ground. That's only 2 seeds that have actually sprouted and grown out of more than 60 seeds that we've planted. That's about a 3% germination rate. Well, I'm not ready to accept defeat just yet. See, there are methods and ways that you can go about getting very, very old seeds to germinate. As a matter of fact, a similar method was used whenever those beans were first rediscovered. You see, back in the early 1900s, a group of archaeologists exploring around Mesa Verde uncovered some ruins with a clay pot inside. There were lots of clay pots, but this one was special. It was sealed. And in those ruins, it had managed to maintain a fairly steady rate of humidity and temperature for hundreds of years. Inside the pot, they found what are now known as the Anasazi beans. Anasazi is a word that comes from the Navajo. It means ancient enemy ancestors. What the name of the people were that were actually settled in that area and lived there for thousands of years and originally grew these beans is lost to history. We just don't know. But the beans that they left behind were sprouted using a special method, and I'm going to show you that method today. Let's go inside and I'll show you what I've got. I've got down here a little clay pot, and inside of it, you see in here, I know the light's not so great, but we've got some of these little reddish brown and white beans. Those are Anasazi beans. Now, these did not come from a cave somewhere around Mesa Verde. These came out of a bag. That's the original bag. This bag was purchased about 13 years ago, and those beans were sitting in this bag for years and years and years through hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold. They weren't well preserved in a nice, dry, cool environment sealed up in a clay pot like that. So it's doubtful that all of these are going to germinate, but I did plant some of them outdoors, direct sowed them, and at least one of them popped up, so I know that they will germinate. But I want to get some more of these sprouted, so what I'm going to do is a little trick that I believe I picked up from the migardener. Not that he needs me to promote his channel, but it's a good method. You know, some of these they're split apart, like this one here. Yeah, that one's not going to germinate, obviously. So we've got the beans that we want to germinate. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out as many of them as I can and spread them out and pick out the ones that I know are split and aren't going to do anything. Yeah, those aren't going to do anything. Let's spread them out here. And what I've got these on is a pet training pad. Let me back up a bit. Sitting on top of my worm bins, there's a pet training pad. And there's this over here. This is hydrogen peroxide solution. We buy this by the case. We also buy cases of witch hazel and rubbing alcohol. And don't worry, we haven't bought a whole bunch recently. We've had them stocked up for years now. Alright. So I spread these beans out so they have some room. Alright. Now, the thing about these training pads is they have a water absorbing gel. So once they get moist, they can stay moist for a long time. We're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this hydrogen peroxide onto the pad and let it soak, just like so. There we go. The hydrogen peroxide is going to help prevent bacteria from attacking these very old beans while we wait for them to get hydrated and hopefully sprout. Alright, and I put some on this other side. Just let it soak in. Now, another thing you should be aware of with these pads is they're not all created equal. A lot of them have a pheromone applied to them to help train your pet to go and do their business on the pad. Back up so you can see that. But as a result of that pheromone, to my nose anyway, it smells like a dog just did its business in the house. These ones have a fresh scent on them. I don't know if that's going to counteract the dog smell or not. Hopefully it does. In any case, I won't be keeping these too close to where I'm sitting most of the day. So now that I've got the pad soaked well on both sides, I'm just going to fold her over just like that. I'm going to put the camera down so I can tuck those ends in, and I'll show you what we do with them next. Alright, now I've got the ends folded in. I've placed the little packet of seeds there, which is about maybe 8 inches by possibly 14 inches, give or take. And I put it on top of this plastic film. Alright, so the plastic film is going to get folded over. Just like that. And fold it in, and fold it over again, and fold that in. There we go. And we'll set the end in for good measure. And there we go. Now I've got my water absorbing pad wrapped around with the hydrogen peroxide solution, wrapped around those seeds that I want to get germinated. Alright, and that's folded up good and tight, and then it's wrapped with that plastic film so that the moisture can't go anywhere, and that will keep those nice and hydrated all the way up until they germinate here in about 3 to 5 days. Maybe a week. I'll give them up to a week. We'll check on them in about 5 days or so. And from now until that point, I'm just going to put these on top of the refrigerator where it's a little bit warm, because you want to have a good temperature, 65 degrees or higher, preferably up to 80 degrees, to help things like beans germinate. So we'll put those up on top of the refrigerator, and we'll check back on them in about 5 days. Well, good people, that's about all I got for you today. As always, if you found any part of the video informative or entertaining, please hit the like button. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, bang the notification bell. Good people, I will catch you next time.